It's the end of an era in Arizona.
And the possible start of a new one here in Utah.
Ryan Smith all but confirmed the rumors that the NHL is coming to Utah today in Los Angeles. I'll tell you what he said at this expo coming up.
What could potentially be the last Arizona Coyotes game in the state happening right now. I'll have reaction from fans and former players coming up.
And what do those here in Utah think of the Coyotes? Well, we're live at a local sports bar with the latest.
Findings from a legislative audit committee about 2 transportation agencies and what those recommendations are.
Kevin Bacon makes his return to Payson this weekend for the 40th anniversary of Footloose. How local businesses are not only excited, but also lending a helping hand.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
The anticipation is building as Utah gets closer to securing a National Hockey League team. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. Today, Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith all but confirmed the Arizona Coyotes are coming to Salt Lake City. He was speaking at a sports business conference in Los Angeles, saying the rumor is, quote, pretty true. Fox 13 News has team coverage tonight. Reporter Spencer Joseph is in downtown Salt Lake City where fans are amped up.
And in Tempe, Arizona, right now, the Coyotes are playing what could be their last game in that state. Reporter Lillian Donahue is there and spoke to fans and former players. Lillian, let's start with you.
Yeah, right now I'm outside Mullet Arena and the game is going on right behind inside, and I can even hear cheering from fans behind even the camera in the parking deck from folks who have come in and are watching the game on their phones. That just shows how much these fans love this team. And I can tell you though, as people were funneling in tonight, you couldn't avoid the writing on the wall here, as this could potentially be their last goodbye. A last howl for nearly 3 decades in the desert. As the puck drops potentially for the last time in Arizona, fans are flooded with emotions.
Here to support the team, but just sad on the circumstances we're here for.
Very hurt that they've taken away more than hockey from us, because if you're a true fan, it's not about hockey, it's about the camaraderie.
Former Coyotes captain and fan favorite Shane Doan showing up to Mullet Arena hours early.
You know, when you lose something that you love and care about, and the relationships and everything that goes along with it, you mourn a little bit and you grieve a little bit.
Doan's son Josh keeping up the legacy as a current Coyote, now looking at potential relocation.
I said, you know, it's very similar to my situation where we left Winnipeg to come down here, kind of write your own story and start something on your own.
For fans, they're split on support for a Salt Lake City team.
There's players here I will support no matter what throughout their entire career, but I'm not sure if I can support the team in Salt Lake.
And Doan tells me that he hopes that 28-year foundation laid by the Coyotes here in Arizona helps continue the popularity of this sport with or without the team.
Lillian, before we let you go, we know the game's going on right now. Do you have any idea whether fans have something planned for the team after the game?
Well, we've been looking at a lot of the fan groups online. There are some folks that we know are going to want to stick around afterwards to send these Coyotes off and say thank you to all the players. You know, there are a lot of fans that I talked to that actually came in from out of town, the Midwest, and even a few that came in from Canada. Reporting in Tempe, Lillian Donahue, back to you.
All right, Lillian, thanks so much.
Hockey fans in Utah are pretty excited tonight. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph sounds like he's at a party. He's at Legends Pub and Grill right off of 700 South and 200 West in Salt Lake City. Is the hockey game on there at the bar, Spencer?
It is, and we've got it up on the big screen. I got Trevor here, who's the owner of Legends. Now, Trevor, you are so excited about the potential of the NHL team moving here. Tell me about, from a sports bar's owner's perspective, what do you feel?
Well, I mean, excited's an understatement. We're really excited. I mean, being a sports bar, for us to have another sports scene coming is a huge deal to us. Not to mention, like, our fans and everyone here is just, everyone's just jazzed, like super excited.
Jazz, no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. But they can't, every time I'm here at the bar, that's the talk of the whole bar. Everyone's just, they can't quit talking about what might be coming, who's coming, when are they coming, like all the details. So yeah, it's a really big deal.
So you're a big hockey fan. Tell me about that, because we've got some hockey memorabilia around the bar. You love hockey. So why do you love hockey, and why is it exciting for you to have it here in Salt Lake?
I played growing up. So I mean, at least through high school, and then I played some club, and then I do stick ups, some pick up or some stick time, that kind of thing. But I mean, it's just kind of something I've done my whole life, and so I put so much time and energy into it. It's hard to not fall in love with it. Plus, it's an amazing sport. It's like one of the fastest sports, in my opinion, that you never get tired of playing it or watching it. And once you understand it, you can't get bored. It's so fun. And a lot of there's the talent in hockey. I don't think people understand how much eye-hand, like, I don't know. You have to be doing 10 things at one time all the time. And I don't know, I just love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the talent is incredible, the athleticism. Well, before we let you go, I got to ask, and I'm asking everybody about this, do you have a favorite name for the team yet?
Favorite name? I heard the Stag. Someone brought up the Stag.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do like that one.
I mean, I just read it a while ago, but I was like, that's kind of cool. I mean, I like that. And so far, that's probably my favorite.
I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we know you're going to have the Utah question marks, whatever they are, on next season here at Legends. So we're going to go ahead and toss it back to you. But fans here in Salt Lake, very excited. And we're watching as the second part of the Coyotes game gets underway.
All right, Spencer, enjoy that hockey game. Soon, maybe you'll be able to watch it in person.
That's right. That's right.
We, of course, will continue to follow the big NHL news. Stick with Fox 13 News on air and online as we keep you updated every step of the way.
Now to our other top story. The Sundance Film Festival is looking for a new host city, and it may be outside of Utah.
For 40 years, Sundance has called Utah home, and now the Sundance Institute is considering bids from other cities. The current contract runs through 2026. The festival is seeking a request for proposal for potential host cities starting in 2027. The bids open next month.
We'll have team coverage of this big story coming up in our next half hour.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, 2 transportation agencies have been audited by an independent body at the legislature.
Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi has details on those findings.
Hopefully people look at the audits and the audit recommendations as a way to improve.
The Office of the Legislative Auditor General did a performance audit of the Utah Transit Authority in the Ogden-Hinckley Airport and presented these reports to the Legislative Audit Subcommittee.
They've made some improvements, but they have an opportunity going forward to being one of the best in transits in the United States. And we have found, we believe, ways to help them meet that goal.
After a previous audit in 2014, staff says UTA has mostly implemented those recommendations. They also recently changed their governance structure to improve efficiency.
Planning and how we work with local communities, how we can help them have better transit plans within their community, how we interface with them, and then looking long-term, how do we meet the growing needs of the state of Utah.
Some other recommendations include making public transit faster by giving traffic signal priorities, dedicated lanes, bus stop optimization, and reducing onboarding delays, hoping to increase ridership and prioritizing frequency.
That's important because it reduces wait times for transit appointments, makes connections easier, creating a network, provides a backstop for the reliability issues, and there's no need to check your schedules. You just show up and go.
Senate President Stuart Adams also highlighting the importance of expanding front-runner services, especially looking ahead to population growth in the Wasatch Front and possibly hosting the Olympics in 2034.
I will guarantee you that you will have astronomical ridership if you can have an express train go from Provo to Ogden at 150 miles an hour. And you can be in Salt Lake in 10 or 15 minutes.
While UTA's audit focused on needing to improve their organizational structure and the performance and frequency of routes, Ogden Airport's audit looked at the deficits that taxpayers were having to cover and issues with their hangar management.
We found that since 2006, the airport reported an operating loss every single year that ranged from a couple $100,000 to over $1 million.
And I think that the plan that we have with those tweaks and with measurable objectives over time are going to help us get there to make sure that we are accountable to the taxpayers and that property taxes aren't subsidizing operations at the airport.
Another concern, about half the hangars have no building code or inspection on record. Multiple hangars have no functioning aircraft, and some don't have aircraft information available. But the city is putting in the work to turn the airport around.
Getting back to stakeholder engagement and communication, I think that's going to have the biggest impact.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, I am Maitili Gubi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Talking about the airport, great day to go flying today.
It was really nice outside, Allison.
Yeah, tomorrow even sunnier than it was today. You know, we started today off with cloudy sky. A weak cold front moved through, brought some very light precipitation to our northern mountains, maybe a few drops in your windshield today, but it's still very pleasant out there. It's about 50 degrees for Salt Lake, about 50 degrees for Ogden, and 52 degrees currently for Provo. Now, compared to this time 24 hours ago, it is a little bit colder here across northern Utah, but our cold front, it was a very weak one. It stalled out, and we still have some warmer temperatures in southern Utah, but for us here across the north, Salt Lake, Ogden, Logan, about 10 to 15 degrees colder compared to this time 24 hours ago. Wind is still noticeable for Ogden, Provo, Vernal right now, about 15 to 25 miles per hour. We look at mostly clear sky for tonight and temperatures dropping into the 30s overnight. So it will be chilly tomorrow morning. We'll have more on what to expect for this weekend coming up.
We're one step closer to Payson High School's Footloose dreams becoming a reality, and the town is preparing for Kevin Bacon's arrival this weekend. We'll show you.
Plus, the dark skies in our state are truly a sight to behold. How you can get the most out of stargazing here in Utah.
Kevin Young is the highest paid assistant coach in the NBA. Now he's one of the highest college coaches in the country. We'll hear from him coming up.
This weekend, Kevin Bacon will make his return to Payson for the 40th anniversary of Footloose. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold. While Payson High School's Bacon to Payson campaign helped get the man who played Ren McCormick back here, local businesses are using this celebration to also give back. The popcorn will be popping and the soda will be flowing.
Of course, Footloose is like an amazing movie. It's a classic and iconic movie for Payson just because it was filmed here.
While Kevin Bacon will be making his way back to Payson, it will also mark the return of his iconic movie Footloose to the big screen.
So I've got permission to bring it in, and we're going to play for the whole week from the 19th to the 25th, $1 ticket. We've got well over 300 tickets sold at this point, and it opens on Friday.
Chris Phillips, the owner of Stadium Cinemas, telling Fox 13 News on Wednesday that those proceeds are going to a good cause.
We're going to donate the proceeds to his foundation because that's what this whole thing has been about, is promoting his foundation and supporting him in that.
With the help of nearby businesses like Chubby's Cafe.
Bring their ticket from their Footloose showing, they go over to Chubby's and they get 10% off their meal, and then we will take the ticket, and for every ticket we bring in, we'll donate another $1 on top of her $1 of their proceeds.
Other businesses in Payson are following suit.
It's our bacon special, and 15% of the proceeds go to 6 Degrees.
Carol Stella Sanders is the owner of Stella's Crepes.
Like this, then I just got to turn it down a little bit.
Whipping up her grandmother's recipe in this food truck since opening up shop almost a year ago.
And that's what the movie does, is it brings something amazing to that town.
Something that continues to resonate with the people of Payson 40 years later.
I mean, Kevin Bacon's awesome, but we also want to be part of the community as well.
The amazing thing with Payson is the community is amazing.
Bacon will be here Saturday morning, helping build about 5,000 essential resource kits along with the community to help distribute to local charities ahead of the prom later that night. In Payson, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Governor Spencer Cox has declared April Dark Sky Month in Utah. In fact, we lead the country and world in dark sky preservation.
Utah's Weather Authority Allison Krogan has some tips on how you can make the most of dark sky conditions in our beautiful state. Allison?
Yes, half the park is after dark. That's a new phrase that I learned from Anna Lockridge with Visit Utah when we were chatting about astrotourism recently and how lucky we are to live in the Beehive State. We have 25 dark sky places in Utah, And astrotourism is a term that you'll be hearing more about in the coming years. Astrotourism is anticipated to generate nearly $6 billion, yes, billion with a B, and support more than 100,000 new jobs in the American Southwest over the next decade. And you don't have to travel very far to see the Milky Way.
We have 7 dark sky destinations that are within 2 hours of Salt Lake City. I want to give Antelope Island a shout out and park manager over there, Wendy Wilson. They are so creative with the programming that they offer at Antelope Island and also at many of the other state parks. And they make it so accessible by helping you learn how you can identify constellations, when's the best time to see the stars. They also show you that it's not always what's up above, but also what's below you by leading things like scorpion safaris and spider hunts. So it's pretty cool because it's about the entire ecosystem. And
as Anna mentioned, we have 7 dark destinations within 2 hours of Salt Lake City. We have 25 across the entire state, and that does include all 5 of our national parks. And don't forget that phrase, half the park is after dark. I loved that. And if you want more tips on stargazing here in Utah, you can visit our website, fox13now.com. One of my favorite tips to give people for stargazing is if you're looking at a couple of different weekends to go on a camping trip or to maybe try to do some stargazing, look at the calendar and check out the moon phase, because you want to avoid full moons if you can, because if you go during a new moon, you have less light pollution from the moon in the sky, and you can often see things a bit better on those new nights, those new moon nights where we have less moonlight in the sky. Tonight, a chilly night, air quality tomorrow moderate. We're back to some ozone tracking here across the state. Chance for some isolated showers along our central mountains as we head into the weekend, but for the most part, any passing storms that we have will be very weak waves of energy, and we are going to see mainly dry conditions for almost all of you for the next week or so. Temperatures right now close to 50 degrees for the Wasatch Front, St. George mid-70s, mostly clear sky here across northern Utah, a few clouds into southwest Utah. Temperatures dropping into the 30s tomorrow morning, and we'll have less of a breeze tomorrow here along the Wasatch Front, but still some light breezes for southern and eastern Utah, about 10 to 20 miles per hour for tomorrow. Waking up along the Wasatch Front, clear sky, temperatures in the 30s early in the day, even into the 20s as we look up towards the Cache Valley, Park City, Evanston. And then for St. George tomorrow morning, dropping into the 50s. For the Wasatch Front tomorrow, a really nice spring day, similar to today. Just a little bit below average by about 5 degrees, but a nice spring day nonetheless. Air quality moderate as we are back to tracking some ozone conditions for us here along the Wasatch Front. As we get into summer months and our warmer conditions, ozone becomes more of a problem heading into the summer as opposed to our winter air quality problems, which is particulate matter. St. George, temperatures into the 80s tomorrow, so we look across the state and it's going to be mild here in the north, still warm across far southern Utah. And then, as I mentioned, perhaps some passing clouds at times into southern Utah heading into Thursday evening into Friday, and maybe even the chance for some isolated showers in the mountains this weekend with some weak waves of energy moving through. St. George 84 tomorrow, close to 90 this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Look at that. And for the Wasatch Front, 58 tomorrow, mostly cloudy on Friday, 64. With some clouds filtering through, 70 to 75 degrees for this weekend, near 80 degrees by next Tuesday and Wednesday. Your next full forecast will talk a little bit more about our chance for precipitation the next couple of days coming up in just a bit. We'll be right back.
In developing news, attorneys for the suspect in the murder case of 4 University of Idaho students a year and a half ago has filed an alibi defense.
In the filing, Bryan Kohberger's attorneys give more detail about where he was when the 4 students were killed in an off-campus home. It maintains he was out driving in the early morning on November 13th, 2022. The alibi says Kohberger was an avid hiker, but with a busy schedule, his hiking decreased while his nighttime drives increased. If convicted, prosecutors intend to seek the death penalty.
This was day 5 of the murder trial of Chad Daybell in Boise. Jurors heard about the 100 pieces of unopened mail seized by Rexburg police from a P.O. box in nearby Sugar City. Some of the letters included credit card statements for Tylee Ryan and changes made to Tylee's death benefits from her father, Lori Vallow Daybell's third husband.
We learned that in the middle of August, I believe it was August 16th, Lori, Tylee's mom, had contacted Social Security and had stopped having the monthly stipends deposited into Tylee's account, and she then switched those monies to be deposited into her own personal account, Lori's personal account from the BBVA.
Today's session wrapped up with a timeline of Chad and Lori's trip to Hawaii, with the prosecution saying that Daybell claimed to pay for the family to go. But there was no paper trail connecting JJ and Tylee to the trip at all.
The International Rescue Committee says the cost of living is having an impact on housing refugees. The IRC supports refugees from 20 countries all around the world. Of the 550 refugees here in Utah, 80% are in Salt Lake City. The IRC says they get a lot of support in 2022 and 2023, but some of those resources tapered down, making things harder, all because the cost of housing is skyrocketing.
Of these families, they all have special needs, so they all don't get sufficient at the same time. So we just noticed that about 40 of these families need additional support. This is the reason why we are fundraising to see how we can support them.
Sometimes what we see, depending on their level of English, if they come in with little or no English, it takes a little bit longer for them to secure employment, which is normally about a month or two during that transition period.
If you'd like to help the IRC and other organizations support refugees, you can donate by going to rescue.org.
The Sundance Film Festival considers moving outside of Utah. What our political leaders have to say about it.
It's going to be a loss because we love Sundance so much.
Plus, how businesses along Main Street are reacting tonight.
Celebrating Utah's Mighty Five. What you need to know before heading out to our national parks this weekend.
BYU officially introduced Kevin Young as their new basketball coach. We'll hear from him coming up tonight.
The Sundance Film Festival is looking outside Utah.
It was a bit of a surprise to us, but we're ultimately looking at this as an opportunity.
I'm Ben Winslow on Utah's Capitol Hill. For 40 years, the Sundance Film Festival has called Utah home. Now, the Sundance Institute is looking at other cities to potentially host. Art sometimes becomes political, and now Utah political leaders are trying to convince them to stay. The Sundance Film Festival will seek a request for proposal for potential host cities in 2027 and beyond. In a statement, the festival's director of programming says, "We are in a unique moment for our festival and our global film community, and with the contract up for renewal, this exploration allows us to responsibly consider how we best continue sustainably serving our community while maintaining the essence of the festival experience. We are looking forward to conversations that center supporting artists and serving audiences as part of our mission and work at Sundance Institute, and are motivated by our commitment to ensure that the festival continues to thrive culturally, operationally, and financially as it has for 4 decades.
It seems like this is just business. We certainly haven't gotten any indication of, we're looking for other things that Utah doesn't have. It's been more about the contract's up, this is a good time to reevaluate and reassess.
Utah Film Commissioner Virginia Pierce says the state has a symbiotic relationship with Sundance. The festival draws over 80,000 to Park City, and it feeds into Utah's $600 million film industry. On Utah's Capitol Hill, art became politics as political leaders reacted.
Sundance is part of Utah. We've embraced them. I think Sundance and Utah are synonymous. I think they'll understand that. We look forward to being competitive. We want to make sure they're successful, though. And they've been a great partner with us in Utah. We look forward to them staying here.
Well, I think competition's always a good thing, and so I welcome the fact that they're out looking to other areas. I think that's good. I think they'll find that Utah's the best place for Sundance.
They want Salt Lake City and Park City and the state of Utah to engage in conversations about what Sundance means for the state of Utah. And if we have, as a legislature, have been failing to have those conversations, it's time to make sure we get it right.
Governor Spencer Cox also signaled his desire to keep Sundance, telling Fox 13 News, "Our hardworking and caring people, stunning landscapes, and an economy that is second to none have kept people and organizations coming back to Utah, including the International Olympic Committee, outdoor retailers, and corporations too numerous to count. The Beehive State has never been stronger, and we're excited to remind the Sundance Film Festival of all that Utah has to offer."
I just don't really want to imagine a world without Sundance. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to stay. I think this is a good business practice, but I really believe at the end of the day, they will realize again why Utah is the home of Sundance Film Festival.
It is possible that by the end of all of this, Sundance decides to stay right where it is. They are here through 2026. Next month, the bid process opens. Sundance Institute could make a decision by the end of this year or early next year. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In Park City, Sundance has come to represent a culture, really a feeling of its own, for 2 weeks every January for the last 40 years.
As Hollywood comes to town, movie stars, celebrities, even politicians do too. The festival brings in a worldwide clientele. Main Street is packed, traffic is heavy. Sometimes the locals complain about this mountain resort town being overrun. But everybody admits that Sundance really is a cash cow for the local economy. Red Banjo Pizza depends on it, and the Egyptian Theater has been the central location for the festival for decades.
Very heartbroken and sad if they do leave this town, if they leave our theater. It's going to be a loss because we love Sundance so much.
What does the Sundance Film Festival mean to you in terms of revenue every year?
A huge percentage of our revenue is Sundance for sure. It's one of the busiest times of the season, besides Christmas week, so I would be against having it move somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not mad that there's a possibility of it not coming back. I mean, if they had it, maybe they could have it during the shoulder season again, May or October. You know, it helps the restaurants. The restaurants are great, but everything else, we kind of just... It's just a mess.
In a statement today, Park City Mayor Nan Worrell said, "We appreciate our partnership with Sundance and we want the festival to remain here for another 40 years. We will not be alone in the effort to ensure that Utah remains host to diverse new voices from around the globe. With gratitude to the thousands of volunteers, our dedicated workforce, our residents, and the passion of our visitor and resident film lovers, we will work collaboratively with all our state and local partners on next steps. Those next steps include an incentive package, infrastructure improvements, and anything else it takes to keep the film festival in Park City." As Sundance determines its future, we'll continue to follow this process on air, on our social media pages, and online at fox13now.com.
We now know the name of the young girl who died in a wrong-way crash on Highway 6 in Carbon County a week and a half ago. According to Utah Highway Patrol, 6-year-old Olivia Lloyd from Tooele was riding in her dad's pickup truck when a semi drifted into their lane, hitting them. No word yet on what caused the crash.
A Salt Lake Valley woman pleaded guilty this week for her role in a drunk driving crash last year that badly injured a teen girl. It was in September when 39-year-old Burgundy Hatch hit high schooler Madeline Best on her drive home. Hatch was also facing 1 count of failure to stay in one lane, but that charge was dismissed.
We are learning more about the deaths of an American Fork couple back in January. The Utah State Medical Examiner says the cause of death for Dwayne and Sally Frankham is ruled as undetermined due to the degree of decomposition. There were no signs of trauma or poisoning on either body, but does note the two did have heart disease.
Louisiana-based rapper NBA Youngboy has been arrested in northern Utah. The rapper, whose real name is Kentrell Deshaun Galden, was under house arrest as he awaited trial on federal gun charges. Several agencies, including the FBI and Secret Service, executed a search warrant yesterday morning. He is charged, or is facing, 63 charges for his alleged involvement in a large-scale prescription fraud ring. He's being held in the Cache County Jail without bail.
Coming up, a family who says they've been victims of harassment by their neighbor are now filing a lawsuit. How they hope this helps stop the alleged harassment.
And getting into every national park in Utah this weekend will cost you nothing. But there are some things you need to know first that will either make or break your trip.
And a library isn't necessarily the first place you think to plan a party, but we're going to introduce you to the incredible women behind this celebration in Cedar Hills today. Back in December, Fox 13 News shared a story about a Midvale family who said their neighbor had been harassing them for months. Now, 4 months later, the family says the harassment has continued. Today, the family filed a lawsuit against that neighbor, Catherine Smith. The complaint alleges assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, trespassing, and false imprisonment. It also lists dozens of alleged incidents between July 2023 up to this past week, many of them targeting the family's 10-year-old son.
As he's outside playing, she uses the N-word. She refers to him as nappy-headed. She makes it very clear that her cats have been instructed to attack him. At one point in the last little bit, he came in and said he just doesn't want to play outside anymore. She scares him, so he's just going to stay inside, which, you know, for a 10-year-old boy is fairly devastating.
Steve Burton, a criminal defense attorney representing Smith in a pending case, says his client has mental health issues.
She's been struggling with these types of issues for many years, and she's tried to get help. She's undergone electroshock therapy to try to address the issues, and she's been diagnosed with a disorder that actually makes it harder for her to control her impulses, especially verbal impulses.
Airs there plans to serve the lawsuit to Smith within a week. At that point, he says she'll have 30 days to respond.
Well, this weekend kicks off a celebration of the most amazing natural wonders in our country, including those right here in Utah.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us what you need to know ahead of National Park Week.
Zion is an incredible landscape with striking views, deep stories that we all get to share together. And that is a really, really special thing to think about in National Park Week.
National Park Week kicks off with entrance fees waived this Saturday.
Plan to either arrive early or a little bit later in the day to avoid the rush in the middle of the day.
Park Ranger Charlie Reed says there are ways to avoid the stress of driving and parking around Zion.
Use the Zion line in the park and also use the Springdale line in the town of Springdale to be able to get to the park and to not have to worry nearly as much about parking.
All of Utah's Mighty 5 parks preparing for big crowds.
Moab is just busy. Anybody who's been here knows that. From mid-March clear through October, it's going to be a hopping place down here. So
Karen Garthwaite says free admission days are rare because entrance fees support everything in the parks, from ranger salaries to search and rescue, signage, and bathrooms.
A lot of people ask why national parks charge a fee. Aren't we fully funded through taxpayer dollars? And the answer is, I wish, but that's just not the reality. It's actually a small portion of our budget comes through that.
Even if you can't make it down south to celebrate, she says every Utahn should take this week to appreciate the natural beauty we have in our state.
I've been privileged to work for the National Park Service for 20 years, and 18 of those years have been right here in Utah because I showed up and fell in love, as so many people do.
Arches is currently requiring timed entry reservations. Although most times for April are sold out, Garthwaite says more spots open up at 7 p.m. the night before you'd like to visit the park. Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A special education teacher in Cedar Hills got an emotional surprise this morning. Kay Beck has taught special education at Cedar Ridge Elementary for 25 years. She's been teaching for a total of 50 years. This morning, students, parents, and fellow educators hosted a surprise parade for her to celebrate her career milestone. She was welcomed with bagpipes, her favorite kind of music, and escorted down the hall by her students.
To see the community applaud my class and applaud my kids, and to see how they progressed, and to know that I had a role in that, that was huge.
Everyone was wearing a purple t-shirt with the words, "Never ever give up." That's her slogan, posted in her classroom. Her favorite color is purple because purple symbolizes royalty, and she says that's how she sees her students.
Well, today was a beautiful spring day, although we did have a weak cold front that moved through, but it didn't really impact our daytime high 59, but it will be chilly tonight, and what to expect for the weekend coming up.
Coming up at sports, we'll hear from the new men's basketball coach at BYU, Kevin Young. And we'll hear from Ryan Smith on bringing the NHL to Utah as the Coyotes play their final game in Phoenix tonight.
Well, it was a beautiful spring day today, and I'll tell you what, if you liked today, I think you're really going to like this weekend. And speaking of this weekend, on Saturday, I just want to remind people that we have the marathon downtown here in Salt Lake, and there will be delays with traffic and road closures through at least midday and starting very, very early in the morning. So the race will start at 7 a.m. I think the bike race starts at 6, though. Regardless, people are going to be out. There will be closures before that, temperatures in the upper 40s, and by noon, temperatures into the upper 60s. We'll have some very nice weather for the most part this weekend. 49 currently here in Salt Lake City. And as we look at the Wasatch Front for tomorrow, the main thing is it'll be hazy sunshine as we're tracking some ozone here across the state. Temperatures into the upper 50s. Right now, we're in the 40s. We'll drop into the 30s here along the Wasatch Front tonight. High pressure will be strengthening, and we could see some waves at times of some energy moving through the atmosphere heading into this weekend, which could possibly help promote the chance for some isolated showers, mainly for our central mountains at times this weekend. But there's nothing that's going to be too organized or too impactful in the forecast. The forecast, for the most part, is very nice here for the next week. Temperatures into the overnight hours. Main thing I want you to know for tomorrow morning is it's going to be quite chilly. We did have a cold front that moved through this morning. It'll drop our temperatures into the 30s tomorrow morning. So it's not going to be as mild as it has been the last few days. Then daytime highs tomorrow will be just barely below average. We'll be in the upper 50s tomorrow. We'll have a lot of sunshine here in northern Utah, some clouds into the southern part of the state. And then our chance of precipitation will be really low for the next couple of days. Middle of next week, we could see some active weather returning, but there's really not any great signals right now that we'll be seeing that until potentially the middle to end of next week. For Provo, your chance of precipitation, same thing, very dry for the next couple of days. Chance of precipitation in St. George, also very dry, just very hot and dry in St. George for the next week. Upper 80s to 90 degrees for this weekend, but for tomorrow, 84, partly cloudy for Salt Lake. Upper 50s tomorrow, 64, mostly cloudy on Friday. 70 to 75 for this weekend, close to 80 degrees, middle of next week here in Salt Lake City.
It's not official yet, but Ryan Smith pretty much confirmed today that the Smith Entertainment Group is on the verge of buying and bringing an NHL team to Salt Lake City. Smith said there's no secret on what's out there online. Normally, not everything on the internet is true, but in this case, it's pretty true. That was during an interview at the CAA World Congress of Sports in Los Angeles when he was asked about bringing the Coyotes to Utah.
I have incredible faith in the people of Utah. We show up. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about showing that. You can't blink when these things come along. I'll never forget going through the Jazz transaction, and it happened to coincide that it was the exact same week of closing as our IPO. And I'm like, what are we doing? The amount of work that goes in to announce these things and everything else, like, what are we doing? And it's just like, don't blink, just go.
The Coyotes are playing their final game in Phoenix tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, and the home team took the early lead. It's Leon O'Brien shoots and scores. That put the Coyotes up 1-0 in the first period. The Coyotes lead at 2-1 in the second intermission. BYU formally introduced Kevin Young as the new head basketball coach tonight in a reported contract that's worth $30 million over 7 seasons. Here's Fox 13's Morgan Vance.
6 days removed from losing Mark Pope and a day and a half removed from naming his replacement, Kevin Young had his blue carpet moment, introducing a guy with a very impressive resume. This is some of what we learned tonight. Contrary to some reports, Young did not necessarily have his heart set on becoming a head coach in the NBA, even though teams were definitely knocking on his door. And he has more BYU connections than we thought. Young's wife is a Coug, as is at least one brother, and he couldn't be happier to be in Provo now.
Cougar Nation, here he is, Kevin Young.
I remember coming to a game here, I believe it was against Wake Forest, and that was my first time ever coming to a game here. And that was the most incredible atmosphere I'd been in at the college level. And so that's what excites me, the passion, it's crazy in here. I mean, the hype video had me hype. I was ready to get these guys running suicides and get to it right now, but
Did you hear Devin Booker jokingly refer to this place as KYU?
Yeah, I did. That was pretty funny. That was a nice little ring, actually.
You feel the fact that you worked with some of the biggest playmakers in the world help with relating to kids and in the recruiting process?
I hope so. I mean, I do not take for granted the fact that I've been able to work with some of the world's best players. And I 100% would draw on the things I've learned from them, from the guys I've coached, and I want our players to be able to reach out to those guys. I want them to be able to work out with those guys. All of our guys are striving to get there. I think in the recruiting world that can be something that really separates this place, and I'm definitely going to lean into that.
And now the pressure's on. Time to assemble a staff and a team to keep competitive in the best conference in all of college basketball. From the Marriott Center, Morgan Vance, Fox 13 Sports.
Great start for the Cougars. We'll be right back.
Okay, guys, the results are in. Ogden's 25th Street placed 3rd in USA Today's Best Main Street Reader's Choice poll.
3rd.
That's really good.
Very good.
Howell, Michigan placed 1st. Have you ever been there?
No.
How about Emporia,
Been
Kansas?
to Emporia. I've been to Emporia.
Okay, they took 2nd place.
Wow, okay.
Was it nice?
Oh, it was like 48 years ago.
It might have changed a little. Congratulations to Ogden, 3rd place.
Yes, way to go.
That is a win.
Way to go, Ogden. Hey, QuickCast is up next.